Yeah, that's how your item filter works. So what you've done is I've powered this block, which means that this hopper is now locked, so it can't work. So this hopper is no longer pulling items down out of this chain.
Oh. Okay.
So the way, let's build a quick item filter. And we'll just do a single line one. So... rewind. The chest. Hopper. And have a hopper going that way. I need a chest there. This is the most cack-handed way of doing this, but there we go. Right. So, what we do is we need a block there. We have our comparator that comes out of the back of the chest. So what's going to happen? No, I'm one too high. Am I one too high?
Yeah. Because it usually goes into the comparator.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know why it does that. Well, I'm figuring it out now, but I just know that it does.
I'm going to be locking... Yes, I'm right. That's right. I'm locking that hopper. So, we go... Block there. One. We need... I'm doing the old-fashioned way of doing it as well, which is not where I want it to be, but there you go. So comparator block down there, isn't it? I'm going to glance on that one. I can then run. What am I doing? That's right. 1, 2, 3. That would turn that one off. Need to power that block. I've done this such a cack-handed way. Let's just do this the other way. Stop throwing items that I actually need away as well. Oh, there's. Well, I think that's full. It's an item sorter. It's not a great one. There we can sort item frames on here. Right. So the way that an item filter actually works, your comparator is reading the hopper that's pointing nowhere. Mm-hmm. The reason it's pointing nowhere is if it was pointing down, it would empty itself because it's not locked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once that comparator, you have your filtering items. Yeah. So on this one, we've got... This is going to overflow, so you would normally have one of each of your filtering items and then the larger stack of the items that you are filtering out, so you can't overflow the system.
Yeah.
But with this one, you've got once another item gets added in, the comparator reads a signal strength of 3. So you have 1, 2, 3. That would then power this block. The repeater then powers this block, which turns the torch off. Because one of the things about a torch is if you power the block a torch is on, the torch turns off. Okay. That torch turning off unpowers this block, which unlocks this hopper.
Alright, so let me make sure I get this correct. So right now, this hopper is locked because this redstone torch is powering this block, which is powering this comparator.
No. So, the hopper going into the top chest is locked. This hopper is locked because this block above the torch is powered.
This hopper is locked. Because the torch is powering this block, which is putting the redstone into that hopper.
Yeah. So this hopper can't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah. The comparator
when the comparator gets the item that it's allowed to get, it shoots the power back and turns off the block, the redstone lamp, which allows it to go in. So really, this is 2 different redstone lines.
So it's a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the redstone goes from the comparator down the back to this block here. The repeater... Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do, because it'll make life a little bit easier. Let me break that, which is going to break everything, but I don't care. Let's grab redstone lamps. No. So on 4 of those. That's how a normal one would go. Because that block's powered. In which case, I don't need that block to be powered. Yeah, there we go. That now makes sense. So you can now see what is powered and what isn't powered quite easily. Okay. So your comparator has a signal strength of 2. So that is powering this block and this block. Well, these 2 redstone dust, not the blocks, because the block doesn't need to be powered. Yeah. Once we add one more item on...
It becomes a strength of 3.
Yeah. So let's chuck some more pistons in here, which lights this one up, which this then powering the target block, unpowering the torch, which unpowers this block, which unlocks this one.
Okay.
And allowing items to freely flow. Now, we'll get to dispensers and droppers in a minute. A hopper always takes from the first slot.
Yes.
Yeah? There is no randomness in a hopper. It will always take from the first slot that's available to be taken from. What that means is if you can end up where you'll block your hopper line with lots of random junk because a hopper's backed up and nothing can pass through it, because if you've got 5 items in one hopper and then the items behind it just can't get through. But yeah, so you've got comparators reading here, redstone torches blocking things off. Dispensers.
Okay.
basically, a dispenser will chuck an item out of its face.
Yeah, these are the droppers.
Oh, sorry, droppers will
Yeah.
chuck items out of their face. The one key thing with droppers, they do conduct redstone, so you have to be careful when you power them. If you put a button on top of one of 3 droppers, all 3 will fire, because this one is powering the other 2. Put the button behind it, just the middle one will fire, or the one that you place it from.
Does it go in all directions? So will this block down here also, like if we put another dropper there, would it do that?
So much like it, only on its face. So yeah, if you have another dropper there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one will fire as well. So yeah, all 6 faces it's a fully powered block when you do it. So this one here will only fire, the one at the back will only fire 1. If we put another one here, because it's only got access to 1 on its face.
Okay.
And they will fire in any direction.
Yeah, that's why like when I create like a lava trash can, I have to encase everything so that it only has one option to go.
The other one you can do is if you face a dropper into a wall. Now, you do have to cover all of them. You can get an item to go directly through a wall.
Okay.
I use this for key returns on any doors that you lock. You can literally have it so that it just rises back up the floor for you once you put the key in. Dispensers are a fun one. Dispensers, never use a dispenser for moving items.
Yeah, because it'll do whatever the thing is.
It does whatever the thing is. So if you've got water, it will dispense the bucket of water. Same with lava. Rather than moving the item, you can shoot out blocks now with powdered snow and take them away.
Oh.
You can dispense a shulker box and it will actually place the shulker box.
Huh.
Which is really handy for various different things. You can't pull the shulker back in.
Okay.
So it will send it out, you can't pull a shulker back in. However, with a shulker box, a piston will break it.
Okay.
So if you try and push a shulker box with a piston, it just pops the shulker box off.
Okay.
But you can fire arrows at people. Same with fire charges. I haven't got everything out here. Snowballs. What even did I have there? Oh, shears. You can shear sheep with dispensers.
That I got.
Glass bottles. If you're pushing glass bottles into something like a beehive, it will take it from honey if there's enough, if it's full.
Okay.
Also into cauldrons, you can get water. Into water sources, you can actually fill water bottles using a dispenser. You can throw out water bottles, so you can make stuff wet. I used it in Eternia to douse some flames on one of the things that I did. You can set fire to things using a flint and steel, which people use for gold farms, lighting portals and stuff like that when fire tick isn't on. And you can dress yourself.
Oh, check that out.
So you can have a really sort of fun build is if you have a set of 4 dispensers and you attach them up with redstone to a pressure plate, you can have literally a walk-in wardrobe.
Oh, that is.
Pistons. There's a lot with pistons and not a lot with pistons. Standard piston pushes a block. A sticky piston pushes a block
and holds on
and retracts it. We're not Java. We don't get 0 tick pulses, thank God. So we don't get block spitting, which is both a hindrance and a curse. You can't push an extended piston. So that's another thing that you can do if you've got sort of doors that aren't working properly with double piston extenders. Generally check your timings, because it may very well be that you're trying to retract a piston that's already extended. Just doesn't work. Another really key feature of a target block is it's a block that's a full block, but it's also, and it doesn't do anything, that is also redstone conductive. Now, if you've got a block and you've got redstone next to it, that isn't powering that block.
Okay, it has to go directly into it.
It has to go into it. This will redirect the redstone to it and is then be powered, which is incredibly useful on redstone builds. Just being able to redirect that redstone means that because the number of times that you will go, I need to get a redstone line into here, that means I probably need a comparator, a repeater to force it in, which is going to make it larger. Just being able to do this makes a massive difference on certain builds.
Okay.
Torches and gates. So this is what we were talking about. If you power a block, the torch will turn off. So this is unpowered. Mm-hmm. If I then power that block, the torch turns off, which then means that you lose power. This is an inverter, basically.
Yeah.
I can take a redstone signal in and have it not come out. You can do that because of that. These are the fundamentals of actual redstone builds. These are all logic gates. So you have an OR gate, which is basically 2 switches. Either one can be turned on or off to get a signal. You have an OR gate, the exact opposite. If both of them are off, if any one of them is on, the gate is off.
Okay.
We have an AND gate. Both of them need to be on for the signal to. Both of them these need to be turned on for the signal to turn on.
Okay. Because
if one of them's off,
it powers that one, which turns it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if these are both off, there's power. If one of them's off, there's power. Both of them have to be off for there to be a signal coming out of it. These start looking a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But these are OR gates. So only one of these can be on. If they're both off, nothing happens. If they're both on, nothing happens. But if one of them's on and one of them's off, it all works.
Okay.
They are useful, and then this is just the same thing running into an inverter. So it's handy for certain things where you only want one thing working at a time. Or for certain redstone machines where if you've got both things going, something's going to go wrong. So I had a nice machine that I could only run one side at a time because of lag. Stuff like that can really be handy. I don't use these a huge amount, but you can make entire computers out of this. This is basically Boolean logic at this point.
Yeah. Which I don't think I'll be doing, but it's really cool.
Observers. One of the main uses for an observer is the inverse of a T flip-flop. And what I mean by that is taking a redstone signal and turning it into a redstone pulse. So if you turn this on, rather than getting a solid state on, you will... Oh, missed. you will just get a flash of redstone.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just want that. Don't have this set up. Let's grab you. So if you set it up like that, where it's just reading the redstone, well, you can read this, but it does a different purpose. It will read it when it turns on and turns off. If you're listening to or watching people like Mumbo, sometimes Prowl will use them, sort of real technical people. These are what are called monostable circuits.
Okay.
There's 3 types of monostable circuit. You've got a rising edge, a falling edge, and a rising and falling edge. What that means is you turn a single input into a pulse. This is a rising edge monostable circuit. So when I start the process, so when it first gets the redstone signal, it makes the pulse. The falling edge would do the exact opposite. So what I can actually do is we'll rearrange this. We want you that way. And I want 1, 2, 3. This is a falling edge monostable circuit. So what this does is when the pulse ends, you get the pulse.
Okay.
Yeah. So your power's coming out of this point. Your power's coming out when you put the power into the circuit. This gives you power at the start and the end. I actually used this one very recently on Nav's gold farm. He wanted water to start in his trident killer when the system started, and then he wanted water to end once the system had finished. So literally you grab a dispenser and a bucket of water inside it. Dink dink. And then when you turn the system on...
Oh, well, that didn't.
How did that not work?
There's nothing there. Why is it not going? That's weird.
When you turn the system on, the water comes out. I have no idea why that's not happening. Never mind.
That's just.
And then when you turn it off, the water is then retracted because you're pulsing the circuit a second time.
Okay.
The exact opposite of a monostable circuit